I think there's a massive dependency on the industry and the type of business that someone is in. So for example, if you are a local business, personal trainer, let's say, operating in a small town versus somebody that is, a marketing speaker, so maybe the industry that we're in, it's much easier to be omnipresent if you're the small local business, because obviously the people that you're trying to reach is a much smaller audience, whereas marketing, you're talking millions of people that you could potentially reach. So I think the first thing is to understand, how big is the swimming pool or the lake or the ocean that you're swimming in, because the larger the ocean, the harder it's going to be, the harder you're going to have to work, really. If we're talking local business, so when we work with our local business clients, the first thing that we do is we start helping them produce content. So although we build funnels and we run ads, first thing that we do is we help them build content like we spoke about earlier. And the reason for that is we can then use that content with our Facebook ads to promote it out to people in that local area. And because we're producing good, high quality, educational, entertaining content, we can actually reach the whole town, based on the demographics and things, the whole town pretty cheaply. And that allows us to start building that brand awareness. And when you do that for a year, 2 years, 3 years, then you start to build that omnipresence already, especially if that business is maybe advertising on TV as well. They're maybe running Google ads. We've got the funnel driving people in. We've got the website. We've got a YouTube channel if anybody's searching in that location. We're turning that YouTube video. I'm getting carried away. I get excited. Turn that YouTube video into a blog, and then people that are typing in questions on Google are finding the piece. So that idea, although it's easier in the local business, it still applies to those that are maybe operating online or have a much larger audience. I think it boils down to really just, again, understanding who's your client, who's your perfect dream client, where are they hanging out, and what type of content are they consuming on that platform that they're hanging out. So if your audience is on TikTok, you're targeting younger people, the content that you need to produce for that platform is going to be vastly different to a business audience that's looking for educational content on YouTube, for example. Yeah. So understand exactly who your customer is, understand what platforms they're on, understand the nuances of each platform, and produce content that fits into that platform. So when they're on that feed, they hopefully see your content, and then you can start amplifying what you're doing with ads. And when somebody, for example, you say that I was everywhere. When somebody comes into my world, they visit my website, engage with me on Instagram, see my Facebook page, watch a video of mine on Facebook, you get retargeted with an ad. And I only spend $1 a day on a retargeting ad for my audience just to bring people back. But it means that you do appear to be everywhere. But the key and the interesting thing about this is you don't have to be everywhere for everyone. You only have to be everywhere for a very small, specific group of people. And your audience is, let's say, I'm making a totally specific group up here, 65-year-old guitar playing women. If that is your audience, it's not going to be very hard to appear everywhere to that audience, because you can create content that they're interested in and you can run ads to that audience. And if they watch your videos, engage with your ads, you can retarget them and retarget them and retarget them and retarget them. And they think that you're everywhere, but nobody else knows who you are.
Yes, I cannot be more excited because I had no idea where your answer was gonna go, and it aligns so much with what we've been saying, right? It's where your audience is. So thank you so much for bringing that. You illustrated perfectly. I don't know, Fonzi, if you want to add anything else.
No, I mean, I love it because, again, like he said, we call that the relative omnipresence, right? It's relative to your audience, like where they are. And I love it, everywhere, but not for everyone, but you can be everywhere for like a few group. And you mentioned you gotta know in what ocean you're swimming, right? And the bigger it is more difficult to get all these people's attention. And the smaller it is gonna be easier for you. And I think that talks about, the blue ocean strategy that I think it has been resonating lately with a lot of people, finding that niche, right? Like understanding who your dream customer is, who you're talking to. So I think it's absolutely amazing how you describe it. And I love the level of excitement that started, like glowing in your face as you were talking about this retargeting strategy. That's, guys, if you're listening and if you're watching this, you can tell his passion for, building all these amazing retargeting strategies and funnels. It's also it's great to see.
Yeah, I've seen that you mentioned local businesses. So
Yeah.
I'm assuming that that is a big pool of the people that you work with. You know, we come from the brick and mortar industry. We come from the fitness industry, right? So what are some of the biggest challenges that you've seen? It looks like the conversation always comes back to that person that you could have a beer with, right? But what are some of the challenges or some of those stories that local businesses put in their heads, right, when they're like diving into this online world? Because for them, it looks very scary sometimes. That's what we've seen, right? They don't know much about it. They think it's all fluff.
Like a Wild West.
A Wild West kind of deal, right? Or is it like, hey, I put an ad and then I'm a millionaire all of a sudden, right? So what are some of those like challenges that you see, and how can people again take those first steps to, you know, how can I make the most out of this?
Yeah, so there's two main challenges that come to my head. One of them is that people are too reliant on old traditional ways of bringing people into the business. So one I often see is this kind of going to networking events, in-person networking events, and I have nothing against that. I go to in-person networking events. You know, we communicated at Funnel Hacking Live, but these smaller networking events where it's reliant on things like referrals. And it means you're, you know, I don't know what it's like over with you guys, but here we have these small, rubbishy breakfast networking events